Hi, everybody. Happy New Year or happier New Year. Um, Either applies, regardless of what kind of year you had last year. Thanks for those of you who are here for year two. Thanks for those of you here for year two, less a few months. And thanks to those of you who are here for your very first month. I appreciate having all of you. Um, Three wines again this month. And I'll start with the first one, our white wine. Oh, Estranxeiro, which in the Galician dialect in northern Spain means the foreigner or the stranger. And this is from Fento. So pretty interesting. If anyone has, a lot of folks came to this club because they attended a lot of my virtual events. And probably one of the most popular wines ever from one of the virtual events was an Albarino, one of my favorite white wines. And amazingly, I don't think we've done one yet with the club, um, which is native to the Galicia region in northern Spain. For those who went to the event this summer at Casa de Paco, their food, their fare, their wine. We had Albarino there. Is very much Galician, Gallego. They are that is where the family comes from. But I love Albarino. And this Fento Albarino that we used for this event, and I think it might have been the Achieve event. We probably went, I think, where we had 20 cases of it. That was about over 200 households participating at once. It was like super popular. Like people were coming in and looking for more of it. And the store, actually, the guys still carry it because of its popularity. Anyhow, so but it's winter, and I wanted something that I wanted something that was maybe Albarino like, but had a sweater, and so I went to Fento and went with the stranger, if you will, the foreigner, for this white blend, which is primarily Godello, Godello grape, and there is some Albarino mixed in with this as well. A small amount, 79% Godello, I believe. So largely Godello, Albarino, and a little bit more of another local grape called Tresadora. Galicia, Rias Baixas area is in the northwest corner of Spain. It's if anyone's familiar with the Camino, the historic walk that goes from northern France. It goes from France across northern Spain. We used to be a pilgrim's march based on St. James's march many centuries ago. It ends in at the ocean where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean in northwest Spain in Rias Baixas, and really beautiful terrain and in that area, fantastic food. But if you go down into, so you go from this really rocky, striking coastal region, where they're drinking these great crisp Albarinos with pulpo, with octopus. Again, those of you who attended that Spanish event back in August, know full well we had plenty of pulpo and Albarino that night. But as you move down into Rias Baixas along the rivers, where the roads and the rivers kind of wind, along the border with Portugal. You're in a very mountainous region, or hills and really steep terrain. That basically have these beautiful rivers like the Minho that kind of run through the valleys. So that's where these grapes are sourced from. Eugenio Pomares, this is his side project with his wife, Rebecca Montero. Excuse me, not Eugenio, Eulogio. Eulogio Pomares comes from the Zarate family, who really helped put Albarino on the map. They were one of only 30 families making Albarino when they made it a DO, a denominacion, and at the time, probably about 30, 40 years ago only. And his wines won the best Albarino like 3 years in a row. And he said, no more. His family, the Pomares family, it's multi-generational family. Back about 10 years ago, Eulogio and his wife decided they were going to start a little side project, and that's Fento. They make about 3,500 cases of wine a year in total, including this one that you have here, which is a pretty cool label. And you can actually see the rivers and the mountains and the hills and the terrain there around that label. And so So they did this little side project started about 10 years ago where he, as the stranger from the up in the northwest corner, went down to where his wife hails from. She also grew up in a winemaking family, and they source from very small vineyards, very small producers to make these wines that are more in the Ribeira Sacra region within the Rias Baixas, within Galicia. So, it is not as coastal influenced. There's more heat, again, inland, but there's also more elevation there. So what you get are richer wines. When you open this wine, you're going to notice it's actually a golden color. Again, it has a lot of the characteristics of an Albarino, that crispness, that salinity, great food wine. And as I said earlier, it's got a winter sweater on, and that's a little richer, a little fuller bodied, and that's what I was going for here. We don't want you're likely to be eating a little bit more robust fare. This will still go with fish, but you can have this with a fattier fish, a heavier fish dish, depending on how you prepare that fish dish. Something that's got cream sauces, perhaps, or more butter involved in it. A richer fish dish, fattier fish, I think would go really nicely with this. Certain soft cheeses I think would go really well with this as too. Chicken dishes, pasta dishes. This is a wine that'll kind of give you that sort of thought that you're drinking a richer wine, even though there's no oak here. It's stainless steel, but it's aged for 6 months or more on the lees. Those are the dead yeast that they let settle to the bottom of the tank, and it gives this wine this really nice characteristic creaminess, if you will. So if you think about that as the weight of the wine, like a medium to even fuller bodied white wine, think of creaminess, think of the kind of foods that you think would pair nicely with that. So that is wine number 1. Be back with wine number 2.